Sydney's thing she was saying was she would say, instead of saying she was totally disconnected, she kept saying in the last year or two, I feel like we're not on the same page and I'm lonely.
Welcome to Maxed Out Man, helping you become the man you were made to be.
Hey guys, it's Kevin Davis from the Maxed Out Man podcast. Welcome back. We took a pretty big break and I'm super excited to have a great friend of mine come on and kick this off again here in 2026. Dr. Jim Bob Haggerton, who is a special guy in my life. We don't talk as often as we should. We met at an event by Justin Rosenhofer. Big name, big man. Check out his episode. It was awesome. He does some really cool things, but he did an event for men called Redeemed in Miami a couple of years ago. That's where we met. So that was super cool. Hey, before I get started, I wanted to tell you about our new Max Out Man coaching program. Basically a group of entrepreneurial men and myself. We help each other to work through man, mission, marriage, and ministry, health and fitness, mindset, and faith, marriage, being the husband that God made you to be, mission, legacy, entrepreneurship, business, community, all of those things. And then ministry is the base of it all. Your personal faith, how it affects the rest of the things that you do in your life. Go to maxoutman.com/coaching. There's an application form in there that you can fill out. And that's the housekeeping and the business. Let's get into this. Dr. Jim Bob. That's what I'm going to call you from now on.
Dude, it's just Jim Bob. Man, I'm excited to be on here, Kevin. Dude, I'm excited. Kevin called me, all of you guys watch or listen to this. He's like, hey, man, I asked like 20 people and no one can do it. You're my last resort and you're the last guy on the list. Will you get on here and do my first episode back? I'm like, I got you, man. I got you.
Absolutely not. You and I started talking and I was like, dude, I know we need to kick this thing off again. I've been a little bit preoccupied, let's say. 2025 was a little bit of a rough year, but 2026, man, I just feel this tremendous weight lifted off me. I feel this. And I was writing, I've been working on my book and I was writing this morning. And it basically, I was talking about, Claude's helping me with some of the organization about what is the prayer that I've made for 2026 that will kind of change everything. And the word is surrender. And for entrepreneurs, we suck at that, right?
Like, I don't like that word.
Yeah, I don't like that either. But the weight that's been lifted, and we can go into more of that. It's just been tremendous. So I appreciate you coming on board and just being a part of that. One of the things I ask on this podcast all the time, or used to when we were doing it, and now we're going to do it again, is kind of this superhero backstory. And really, it's just everybody has that. Everybody has a story. Everybody has a history that gets you to where you are now. And it helps introduce kind of where we're at, where you are in your life, kind of the biggest challenges you're facing. But just give me that backstory.
Sure, man. That's a big question. I was like, when you told me that at the beginning, I'm like, man, where do I even start with that? Because our story is pretty thick. I mean, I wrote my first book actually last fall, about identity wrapped around all the different chapters of our story as a family that we've kind of walked out and stuff. And I know you and I have talked about several of it, but really for the audience, I grew up in West Texas and was a farm kid and came to the big city of Dallas-Fort Worth to be a chiropractor. I knew that I wanted to go into natural healthcare. I wanted to help people level up in wellness. I had an amazing doc because I had broke my low back in a jet ski accident in high school. But I was a varsity athlete in 3 sports. And so I had an amazing doc in my hometown that kept me on the court and on the field. And I was like, I want to do that. So I came down here to go to school, met my wife while I was at a church here as I was going into chiropractic college. And we went into private practice together in 2003. So it's been 23 years that we've been in natural healthcare. I know I don't look that old, even though this like gray, the silver stretch right here.
That's why I don't grow a beard, man. Mine is all white.
I like it. I like this right here.
Yeah, it makes you look distinguished.
I look like one of the knights on Game of Thrones now, man. I'm like getting it,
There you go.
Start calling me Dog or whatever that guy's name was. But so we started a practice together. Cindy, my wife, also is a chiropractor. We graduated, and we were in for years this spot of what Paul Miller in his books calls naive optimism. I mean, like we thought everything was perfect. Look at us. We're like some of the youngest, like 2 of the youngest people to ever graduate chiropractic college. Started a practice. It blew up in 2003 and was rocking. and it was all great. I mean, like we ended up with 3 different practices over time. We also, Cindy became a midwife, and we opened multiple birthing centers because our vision for it was helping families walk out the calling of wellness and health that God's laid out for us. And so we were super excited about that. So then we, started having kids like 5 years into practice. Currently, we have 7 kids total, 6 that are here on earth with us, which is part of our story. But in the middle of having kids and everything, we, are in practice. And the first major thing that crushed this glass house for us was marriage trouble that we went through. Because I was consumed with, I would have said I was a functional narcissist. Like I would have like fully said, people keep telling me there's no cure for narcissism. And I'm like, you haven't really met Jesus then. I don't know that you really know him if you really believe that. But I understand what they're saying because I don't think most people have ever met a narcissist that actually snapped out of it. But, July the 4th, 2012, God pulled me out of my narcissism and me trying to wreck my entire family in Florida on this trip. And that was the first thing that we were like, oh, we're not invincible and we're not perfect. Then 2 years later, we find out we're pregnant with baby number 3. We're like, this is awesome. It's redemption, baby. Look at this. We're like back. Our family's whole. And then he dies 2 hours after delivery. And we found out he had a genetic disorder that was this random thing where he didn't have kidneys and couldn't develop amniotic fluid. So he was alive when we had him. And then he passed away 2 hours after. And that was a huge defining rocking moment that still, we walked through as a family. We adopted a year later, had our delivered our 4th son like 7 months later. So now we have 6 kids on the ground. And the next couple of years, we're getting back into practice and crushing everything. And in 2017, I shatter a femur because I have a benign tumor in my leg. Kevin knows this because we did CrossFit together at this men's event. And they're
dude,
like, why?
And you did not quit. I mean, you got this big ass scar. You got the brace
I got
on.
that brace. I know. I'm out there. I'm bracing up. I'm like, we can warrior, baby. We're doing this. And they're all like, okay, Chubbs, what are you going to do in this? And I'm laughing because like I do CrossFit all the time. And I'm like, a couple of these guys that are just jacked and huge are puking in the bathroom at this event. And our group did great. But
well,
it was a journey.
Just before,
and that was in 2017.
Before you continue, so the first night of this event, there's a lot of fit dudes. Like if you think you're fit, go to one of these events. Like I'm super fit, and then like all the 8-packs come out. First of all these CrossFit guys. But it is designed to break you physically on the first night so that you can be emotionally available.
It's to break down pride and crush your ego.
It crushes your ego for sure. Anyway, keep going.
And it was that. Well, in 2017 is when I shattered my leg, and that was the thing that I thought. I don't know. It's kind of crazy. It changed everything for me because I was in a wheelchair for a year. It fully pulled me out of private practice, but it was the doorway that unlocked what we do now, like all of the entrepreneur stuff we do. It unlocked the ability for me to be with my kids majority of the day and be at every single thing that they're doing and really lead them well the way that I'm supposed to. But I was so locked into owning businesses and those businesses owning me for so many years that I just couldn't do it. So,
talk about surrender, put yourself in a wheelchair for a year, right?
Well, yeah. And it's like, I tell people all the time because people ask me, they're like, so if you knew, and I shattered it in a flow rider, one of the surfing simulators that's like at the water parks.
Oh, yeah.
I had a benign tumor in my leg and I didn't know it was there. So I'm going to go be cool, Dad. I was traveling and speaking at big conferences all over the place. And I was at different city every weekend at that point. And we were in Orlando and my oldest at the time was 9. He's like, Dad, let's go do the flow rider. I'm like, yes. Because I was fixing to go on stage and I wasn't going to be available as a dad or husband for hours, like the next day or two. Because this was a huge conference. There was like 12,000 people there from all over the world. It was insane. So I'm at this thing and I go, yeah, let's go do it. So I walk into this flow rider and I instantly knew something was wrong, but then it threw me down. And when it threw me down and cranked my leg over, my leg was hollow because of this tumor and just shattered my whole femur, like ripped off half my knee and then washed me off to the side like a rag doll. And so people ask me all the time, they're like, dude, if you knew walking in and stepping into the water that you were going to shatter your leg, would you do it over again? Like, would you do it? And I'm like, from all the pain and all the surgeries and all the stuff that I've had to do on this leg, the amount of freedom we have as a family and the connection we have with our kids and the relationship and the shift in pace. That's my word for this year is pace. We can talk about that a little bit, but I'd do it over again. I'd walk in there because it's just the thing that literally like hard boot reset, our family
Mm-hmm.
trajectory. And I think, I'm hard headed enough, Kevin, we have that in common where I was like, I think the Lord was going to have to shatter a leg in me to get me to slow down because I
Yeah.
was just running.
Well, and it's
And
ironic that
so,
you were on the water, right? It was just like it came to
yeah.
mind Peter's experience walking on water with Jesus, right? Like
Yeah.
you got to get out of the boat, but I think it's it's a little bit of a stretch, but like you're literally having this
Yeah. And he had to sink and he had to
floating on the
sink to
water,
figure it
right?
out.
He
Yeah.
had to
Yeah.
sink,
Exactly.
and dude, you had to get thrown across the pool like a rag doll.
Yeah, dude, I got rolled up like a tortilla and messed up. And then I was in the hospital and surgeries and then ended up in a wheelchair for a year. And
Wow.
so that's what took me out of private chiropractic practice because at that point we were still, cranking and super busy, but I had no option. Like I was like, well, and so we closed the doors and turned off the lights and, pivoted to other businesses and worked on those and, worked on content creation and, acquiring other businesses after we sold that practice and other things. And, now the biggest things that I do, I run my own like, training and content, websites and platforms on a lot of it's, foundational around faith and health. But because of our marriage story and everything else, after writing the book, I mean, we talk on marriage and we do a lot of mentoring with couples that are going through crisis. Like that's one thing that we really love doing. So we teach some stuff on that. And then I do some business and growth coaching. I love my favorite thing ever is for someone to bring me a vanilla cold brew and be in front of a whiteboard. And we just go off and we have 2 hours. No one's going to bother me. We turn all of our stuff off and we just vision cast for 2 to 3 hours and then come out of that with a plan on all the things that either they need to do for their nonprofit or business or family or whatever they're doing. So, yeah. And then I've been able to meet awesome guys like you and connect with a bunch of other groups. And, here we are.
That's awesome, man. That is such and I want to dig into so many different things, but that's such a great story. And I think it's the story, you're in the initial part about narcissism. I was writing about it this morning, actually, as well. Had a good writing session this morning, but it's this thing. I was kind of going through like the type of guys that I've worked with and kind of their story. And it's almost always the same, which is like in my own story, 2025, I'm working 14 hours a day, 7 days a week sometimes because I had this client that I was giving way too many hours to and and having to do both my business and their business and long story, but I literally had the conversation. I have to do these things because of this house that we have and because of all of this life we create. And I literally said, and I've apologized and repented from it, but it's like if we didn't have all this stuff, I wouldn't have to do this. And this is to my wife, right? Like and so I mean, classic narcissism.
This is your fault. Like classic Adam and Eve. It would for the woman. I wouldn't have messed this up.
That's right. But I think as entrepreneurs, there is some narcissism involved, but I almost think that we do it out of like really a servant's heart, but we totally skew it to where
we become almost slaves to it sometimes because by the time you turn around, you got all this stuff. Yeah.
And we convince ourselves that by working our butts off and not serving our family and our wives the way that we should,
it's like noble.
And God, it's somehow, I'm this great guy. Give me my sword, and I'm doing everything I should, right? Yeah. So
Well, one thing, Kevin, that I realized even with my entrepreneurial sickness, if you want to call it that, is I realized I've shelved like 3 businesses this in the last few months, like literally paused them all and been like, took those teams, let some go, move some to other things, and then literally just completely stopped a couple. I'm like at least 3 or 4 businesses because what I realized is that there was a season back in 2024, end of 2023, 2024, I started multiple businesses, probably about around the time that we met, honestly. And I realized the reason that I was stressing about them and the reason they were overwhelming was because the reason I started those businesses was because my dad had gotten brain cancer, and I was walking him through all this, and I was waiting on him to die at any minute, literally. And so starting businesses is stress relieving for me. Like, you get this.
That's my
Starting
hobby.
something,
That's
yeah,
my hobby.
starting something new is like, the endorphin release, like, hey, there's purpose to this. And it was the thing I could control. And so I was literally starting businesses to compensate for grief in my own life, thinking my dad is, a little over 2.5 years into his cancer journey. He's rocking. He's a hard-headed old rancher guy, and he's crushing life. And he's got tumors everywhere, and he's doing amazing. It's like he's just like, I don't even care. There's tumors everywhere, man. And he's like, I'm gonna go out to the ranch and drive my bulldozer. I go, you get it, man. And if you die, I'll come get you. And he's like, perfect. Like he's just like.
Are you like, Dad, dig a hole first just to save me some
Make sure
trouble,
it's deep
right?
enough, Dad, because if I have to, I'm just gonna roll you in it, and I'm gonna cover you up.
Well, and a guy like that, I mean, would be like us. Probably, it's like, absolutely. Let me do that first. I'll save you the trouble.
Stick a headstone out there, boy. Let's do it. Oh yeah, he is totally like that. But at the time, I literally went back and apologized to part of my team and apologized to Cindy, my wife, because I was like, hey, hundreds of thousands of dollars that I sunk into these things. And that we were moving around and all these pieces. Not that it wasn't a valid option. There wasn't opportunity, tons of opportunity. But I was starting it to not even scratch an itch, but to cover a wound, which was crazy. When I realized that, I was like, oh my gosh. And so now backing off and doing, like, it's amazing, like you said, on the clarity side of going, oh, okay, hold on. Now I can really focus on ministry and my family more, because I'm not spending hours and hours a week trying to make these things go. That it's not that they're not a good idea, it's just not the right idea, and they're not the right heart behind, you know what I mean? So it's interesting.
Well, that's interesting that you say that, you talk about you leaning into that because of grief. My 2026 is faith over fear.
I like that.
I've got a friend of mine, you guys can listen to the podcast, called Marcus Collius, who his big thing that he's told me so many times, and he kind of shakes his head at me because I did it all at 2025, even though he's telling me not to, which is, all the worst decisions I've ever made have been under the influence of fear.
Absolutely.
And that was my thing. Like I've, at the end of 2025, I said no more of these big consulting gigs to where they're just like open-ended, take way too much time. And so I've really leaned into just
drain your whole schedule.
Yeah. Like 35 hours a week instead of 15, and all of that. And so, but the fear of losing that X number of dollars kept me in that situation far beyond what I should, at least months, And so like,
did you also notice that it was also the fear of letting that client down?
You know what I mean? Like, that's part of an integrity thing, right?
Yeah, you're like, oh, I don't want to not hold up my end, even though we're letting our family down because you're not there all the time.
Right.
And it's the craziest thing. You're like, they're fine.
Yeah.
But this guy, this CEO, I cannot let this guy down. You're like, it gets backwards in your head.
There's a pride enters into it, right? Like I'm supposed to be this fractional COO with 30 years experience and blah, blah, blah.
Right. I can't even handle this.
Crap,
what's going on?
Yeah.
Right.
Why can't I do all these things? Right. It doesn't make any sense. But but getting out of that and really leaning into the faith aspect of it is like, dude, I mean, like now I'm Michelle and I work out every morning together. We take the dogs for a walk every afternoon. I'm done by 6, even if I'm not done by 6.
Right.
and so like, and things are getting done. We're getting one-on-one clients. And to your point, you were talking about doing vision casting and that kind of stuff. I have Maxed Out Man, which we do coaching on the 3 pillar things that we do. But then in my other business, we just do business consulting. And so we take a business, completely strip it down, and over 90 days, in automotive space, we strip it down. But it's the same. I was telling somebody this the other day. It's like, I don't care if you're a med spa or a mechanic. The same concepts: sales, speed to lead, lead gen, or a church.
Or a church. I mean, it's all the same. It's all the same.
All the same stuff. So that's the other part of what I do. But I can do all of those things and still serve my wife and not have her say, "I feel so disconnected from you."
Yeah.
Which is, dude, that is we've been married 30 years, and I can honestly say we're happier now than ever. But when she says those things, it's like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, we've been married 23, and it's crazy because it's like we're twins on this, because Cindy's thing she was saying was, she would say, instead of saying she was totally disconnected, she kept saying in the last year or two, I feel like we're not on the same page and I'm lonely.
Yeah.
She kept saying, I'm lonely. And we're in the middle of stuff. And I'm like, lonely? Like, I've never understood in my mind what lonely was because I'm like always in all these things and doing all this stuff and never slowed down long enough to really know what that would feel like a lot. And then I realized, I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, that goes back to not having connection, like us being either more digital or she and I are like passing in the
Hmm.
house as we're doing other stuff. And I'm doing all the things, but not connecting with her, and it didn't take a lot. Like it's not like, like to your point, like you're working out in the morning and then you're walking the dogs. You're not spending 18 hours a day
Right.
looking at her in deep in the eyes, but it's like the intentionality
Yeah.
of, hey, this morning we're gonna go work out and it's just us and I'm focused on you. And then we're gonna walk the dogs and we're talking. Cindy and I will go for long walks in our neighborhood. We also just like when she'll come in and start talking, I just put everything down and focus on her. And it may be 5 minutes, but she feels connected. And it's thus like slowing down all the schedule stuff and her seeing me prioritize her and the kids instead of like these coffee meetings and all this stuff to plan and everything else. Like, game changer for sure.
Yeah. Well, in my office, my chair is right here. I kind of have this set up like a little mini studio, but my chair is here and faces the back corner of my office. The door is basically, a direct 45. So, and there's chairs behind me. And so what I end up doing is if she comes in, I take and stop and turn my chair around. Like
Yeah.
that's the
The
symbol.
physical action.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or if I say, look, give me 10 minutes, I'm right in the middle of this thing, and let me kind of deal with that. But it's funny because I've officed out of the house since we built this house in 2003, which is when you started your chiropractic practice.
Right. Right.
And so we're in the house, and she's a stay-at-home mom, so we're literally in the house.
You're around each other,
but
all
it's
the
easy.
time.
You can still be lonely. Even when you're in with that. And one of the things that I really have tried to do in this case, and this may work for other men, which is she's a baker and does a lot of things in the kitchen, which is right off my office. Anytime I walk in there, I make sure I stop and touch her in some way. A lot of times it's slap her on the butt because that's required by law. But or put my arms around her if she's standing at the counter and then kiss her neck or whatever. Like little, and it's not like, we gotta, and so, I mean, occasionally I've done this. If she's playing music, I'll take her and dance with her in the kitchen and crazy stuff like that. But usually it's not like that. But it's just those deliberate actions. And I will say something about our walks. I was telling somebody the other day, it's like, we don't have to have deep conversations about God and the universe when we're walking the dogs. Sometimes we're just walking the dogs and we're kind of thinking about our own things. And we may only talk for 5 of the 30 minutes, but it's just that connection and being together.
Yeah, a lot of it's just talking through our schedule with the kids and laughing about something one of them's doing, but getting to actually talk through it or talking through a scenario with our older kids because we've got kids from 17 to 2. Like our oldest is 17 years old, our youngest is 2. And then our middle 2 boys are 10. So it's like we have 3 different sections of kids. So we're like, talking through different things with all 3 groups of them. But you're right. It doesn't
having a strategy meeting every day.
Yeah, dude. How are we gonna take them out? What are we gonna do? How are we gonna lead this crew, man?
Well,
yeah, it really is.
I had 2, and you're sounds like you're a basketball guy, but it's like when you go from 2 to 3 and more, instead of being man to man, now you're playing zone, right? You're just trying to
learning how to communicate all with them different. I mean, thank God we've been in leadership and business, and we have a desire, Cindy and I both, to learn. Like we're just obsessed with. I would say our number one obsession, other than Jesus and our kids, is personal growth.
Yeah.
Like just us getting better. And one of my obsessions is blind spots. Like I want to know what I don't know so that I can get better. Like I want you to tell me, hey, dude, I saw you blah, 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 blah. Or why did you not do blah, 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 blah. Or I need my guys around me call me out because I want to get better on it. Even if it pisses me off, right? Like even if it annoys me. And so Cindy and I are always like, hey, how do we get better as parents and stuff? And how do we communicate with each of them really well? So it's a lot and it's awesome. So,
and to that point, whenever somebody pisses you off when they tell you something about yourself, it's because I know this.
It's true.
I know this about myself. I was talking to somebody the other day and he called me because he was kind of having this crisis, he just sold his company, but he's still involved as a figurehead in the company. And he's like, dude, I don't know what to do. I'm going to this event. My 2 CEOs don't want me at the event. Like, what do I do? And so he's kind of having this identity.
Yeah.
So we talked through it and kind of talked him off the ledge and worked through some strategy. But he was like, you literally just told me everything I knew about myself, but I needed to hear from someone else. I go, congratulations, this is coaching.
Yeah, exactly. That's literally what it is.
That's literally
Literally what it
coaching and
is.
mentoring and all that.
Yep.
Let's talk. I do want to talk about, you were talking about working on yourself. And with,
Yep.
for us in, for nomenclature within Max Out Man, that's our man pillar, which is
Right.
health, fitness, mindset, faith, hormone optimization, all of that. But I know you spend a lot of time on mindset,
Yep.
and that kind of thinking. Let's kind of vet that out. And I think you and I are sharing the story now that so many entrepreneurs face. I know all the wellness stuff is very important to you. You're obviously doing mindset. Kind of walk me through what you do and your advice to some of these guys that might be listening.
There's a lot of things. It really depends on the guy, but like some of the biggest things is, and one of the things even that I had refined and figured out even better when I was at Justin's first event I went to was doing a priority tree for me to really focus on. And if I turn the thing, I've got a huge whiteboard right here, and I've got this giant funnel drawn on my whiteboard that always stays here. And it comes down to a point, and it starts with God right here with this circle. And I put like big circle, like rocks in it, right? Like I poured rocks in this
Oh,
funnel.
okay.
And I've got God, family, friends, community, and then I've got everything else and rocks everywhere. Just as a reminder for me of like, man, if it doesn't hit that priority list, then it doesn't get on the list, right? And I think for so long, what was the guy's name? Danny Silk with Keep Your Love On had an actual rings of relationships thing that we learned a long time ago, Cindy and I. And he talked about in that book about who you give all your time to. Like, where are they on the rings of priority as far as relationships, and how much time and how much energy are you devoting to them? And if you're devoting a ton of time and energy to your people in the 12th ring and not people in the center ring, then you're doing it all wrong. And so, the number one thing that I work with entrepreneurs on, and I'm working with this guy who owns and runs a elite basketball training group right now. He's been doing this for like 13 years. He's got a nonprofit. He's got like 20 something basketball teams that he manages and a bunch of coaches. So we're doing a lot of stuff with him. And the thing that I'm working with him on is what like his vision and goal is for the company, but what is the actual priority? Like who's on the list? Like, and really setting it out and intentionally setting up the time to devote time to the people that matter the most in the center, and then work your way out. For me, the thing that I didn't do well the most within my entrepreneurial growth path and everything else is because I love to work. I mean, I am a non-apologetic workaholic. Like I freaking like it's a drug for sure for me, like working hard and just being overwhelmed with stuff. Like I probably would have been a good ER doc, because the more chaotic it gets, the calmer I get. And the more calm it is, I'm like, I was raised to like, if there's nothing to do, then you're messing up. Like if you're sitting around, then you're lazy, which wasn't helpful as an adult. But in my mind, I start going, hold on, like there's got to be something else to do. So what it built in me was this insatiable need to always be busy, which never allowed me to rest, which never allowed me to contemplate, think about the things that were going on, really plan for I was just like hitting everything as it came. And it was like my entire life was an ER visit. Like it was like this and that. And I needed things to be, the alarms to be going off and everything to be crazy.
You're in a constant state of triage.
Yeah, because I knew what to do, and it gave me control, because then I'm making like, hey, run 50 cc's of this over here, stat, do that. I'm like calling the shots on all these different things with business and family and marriage and all the stuff. But I ended up dropping a ton of plates and everything else. And so, the thing that I really hammer with entrepreneurs and clients and husbands is, dude, like set your priorities and don't waver on them. Like get time to yourself. You've got to get time, like you talked about, like in the morning to work out, to be quiet and still. My time to be still is after I work out. I'll do 20 minutes in the sauna here at the gym. And I'm not thinking, like, I laugh because guys go in there and they're like, they got like phones and iPads in the sauna. Like, I'm like, what are you doing? Like,
why would you do that?
Yeah, one, you got like 10 minutes, the thing's going to overheat anyway, and you're not going to be able to use it. But two, I'm like, dude, it's like dark and perfect in here. Like, So I'm like completely disengaged, and I'll use it to go through prayer cards in my mind or that I've written, or I'm thinking about certain things, or literally just silence. And that's been a huge game changer for me, because I think most of the time, most of the guys or most of the business leaders that I work with, it's either a priority that's out of balance, it's an expectation that hasn't been communicated well because they're too busy and they're not slowing down enough to be able to see those things, right? And so things kind of bubble out of control, or they're just exhausted,
Mm-hmm.
like they're just tired. And going on the doctor side, like the health side, if we run ourselves into the ground so much and we're not taking time to replenish and to recover, what ends up happening is we create so much endocrine imbalance, so many adrenal issues, and so much thyroid issues and stuff like that, that, to your point, it ends up creating hormone problems in the end
Mm-hmm.
because we've just fried our system for so many years. I mean, it's part of what I'm working on myself on my physical journey with health and stuff now is I'm doing all these things and working really hard to rebuild all of my endocrine system of stuff that I stressed the freak out for, decades, over a decade of just working too hard. So I think that's really key. The guy that I like the most that I've like mirrored a lot of my scheduling off of is the 12-week year
Mm.
by Randy Moran. Like, he's really good about talking about block scheduling and setting up 12-week goals, and then having weekly strategies and daily tactics to get to those things. And that's been a game changer for me to force me to go, hey, this time of the day, what am I doing? Instead of like doing all the things all the time, every day, and, again, overwhelming myself, so.
Yeah, time blocking has been a really big thing for me too, and trying to
Yeah.
stick with it. Like I've been trying to finish this book for way too long, and so
Yeah.
what I started doing is instead of I kind of wake up early. I'm up usually by 5:15, 5:30, but I'll sit there and kind of dick around on my phone a little bit or whatever. I'm like,
Yep.
first of all, I started leaving my phone downstairs at night, which means I don't have my phone when I get up in the morning. But then
Yeah.
and so I'll
That's a huge
kind of
step.
do my prayer time and kind of do that, but then I'll get up and that's when I go and I do my writing. So I have that blocked out. I've got a big block of time
And you
after
block
this.
out, you write for what, 30 minutes?
Yeah,
hour,
30 minutes, an
like
hour,
30 minutes?
depending on
Yeah.
how it goes, but I cut it off, right? Like I'm cutting it off, and then but I'll block out like the rest of my day, other than one more meeting after this podcast, is mostly blocked out for one particular activity. So I've got my deep work blocked out. And so time
Yeah.
blocking, if you haven't done it, it's and there's tons of resources out there to help you do it. But
Yeah. Vital
that's super
stuff.
important. I love that funnel idea. And I was thinking, have you ever seen the thing where they try to fill like a container? And
Yes.
if you start with all these big things, then you basically block it up, and you can only fit so much. But it's you have to put the little stuff in first, then mix and match with the big things. I was thinking about your priority list, and it's not 100% one to one, but I was thinking about if you make the big things the wrong things, then you have no space for all the
Right.
other stuff
Yeah.
at all.
And it really does take a lot of times, like who you surround yourself with is so vital, because it doesn't have to be necessarily you're hiring a private coach, even though that's like super important, but someone that can go, hey, I see that you're struggling or you're overwhelmed or this is happening or you're having this issue or whatever. So something's out of sync for that to
Mhm.
happen. So to go through and ask questions about, well, what's in your schedule that doesn't need to be there? What's in your budget that doesn't need to be there? What are you paying too much for? Like if she doesn't feel connected with, like, why? Like, where are you devoting your time? And when it's not to her, you like, and just asking questions. And I think as I get older, I've gotten a lot better about asking myself questions. Like, in the sauna or time when I'm chill or I'm just able to like journal or hang out, is me asking myself specific questions and asking the Lord questions like, hey, like Jamie Winship says, hey, what do you want me to know? And what do you want me to do in this
Mhm.
situation? Like, hey, what do I need to know? Like simple stuff. Like, what am I missing? Is one that I always like, what am I missing in this situation? Why is this stressful? Because it shouldn't be. But asking the right questions, which really involves having the right people around you.
Yeah, and I feel like God tells me to shut up a lot.
Stop talking.
Stop talking.
Gosh,
Start
just
listening.
do what I said.
Yeah,
I know.
do it. Let me lead, which I suck at, right? Like I suck at resting, to your point. So I have to really like that whole thing. One of my friends was describing me to me, and he's like, "You know what you are? You're a blue collar guy with a white collar mind." And I thought that was very poignant because,
Yeah.
like you, I grew up in Texas also, but like you, growing
Yeah.
up with ranch and we are blue. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs fall into this state.
Yeah.
I'm a blue collar guy to the core. I build cars, I
Right.
build houses, I build shops, I do all these things. And I'm a generalist, which means I know too much about a lot of things, which then scatters
But not
me
everything
completely.
about anything.
But not everything about everything. Maybe everything, almost everything about a little thing. But maybe one thing.
That's awesome.
But who knows? But like that can scatter you, and that's why I have, like, to you, it's like I have so many brands and I have too many things pulling on me, and I need to kill some of those things, which I have. But that, I love that blue collar attitude. And my wife was telling me something yesterday that was really interesting, that she and I kind of came to a realization, which is one of the things that she finds so attractive in me is that she is a blue collar loving woman. Like, she likes blue collar.
Yeah.
The blue collar stuff about me is what's very, very attractive to her. So she's like, when you're
I think
working,
Cindy would agree with that.
When you're working 70 hours a week and you're on your computer, that's your white collar stuff. You haven't been doing all the projects around the house. We haven't finished the shop. We've got siding to do and electrical and all that. She's like, I found you so much less appealing, which is, dude, you don't want to hear that from your wife. Right?
The last thing you want her to say. I'm really not into you right now.
Like, but she had a realization. She's like, I really couldn't put meat to this, what I was feeling, but I think that that's it. So, like, once at the beginning of the year, I started doing these projects that have been overdue. As soon as winter stops, which we haven't really had a big one, we're back on the siding, and I'll finish the shop and those kind of things. And so being back at that core of who I am. But one of the things I wanted to say, which I've kind of said on this podcast before, but I have up on my whiteboard, I don't have a funnel, but I have 3 things that says have fun, serve others, and build a life. And building a life is better health, more wealth, more joy, more laughter, praise, and gratitude. And so those become my kind of checkpoints, like those.
Yeah,
those
you're like, am I doing this?
Yeah.
Am I having joy? Am I having fun? Am I
this fun?
getting more fit?
Do I get to serve others? Do I get to do these things? And what I am getting better at is, if it doesn't fit those categories, it's out. And so whatever those categories are for you, to your point, and your time and your priorities, and the big ones are there, right? It's not rocket science. God, marriage, family, business, friends, right? Like, there's kind of those big 5 or 4, or however many that was, but getting those things and then starting to fill in the gaps. It was crazy.
Right.
And if you're a gamer, more power to you if that's what you like to do. But I was on the plane.
I'm not.
I'm definitely not. Like, I don't get it. But I was really surprised to see. I flew to Orlando for an event, and then ended up having to fly back through LA because of storms or whatever. But I'm in Montana, so it's a long trip. But I saw at least 6 to 7 men, 35 to 55, like around our age, gaming on their Nintendo Switch. And to me, it was so surprising to me. And it's, I'm a little judgmental about it, I'll be honest. But like,
losers.
But I'm like, dude, I just don't get spending that amount of time to escape into this virtual world, which everybody has different motivations. And again, if you're listening to this and you're a gamer, what I would encourage you to do is, like, if you're just like, look, I like doing this, then at least don't do it 7 hours in a row. If you like sports, don't sit all Sunday and watch sports. Like, it's you got other things you need to be doing, unless you're single and unemployed.
And it's like, ask yourself, am I doing this just because I'm enjoying it and I want to chill, or am I escaping something?
Yeah.
Like, am I avoiding being a husband or being a father, and I'm sitting here drinking beer or Coke or whatever your thing is, watching NFL for 8 hours because who cares? About the NFL. I mean, like, we really don't care.
Yeah.
But if you're watching because you're just hanging out with your kids, you're enjoying it, cool, whatever. But if I'm doing it, and I had to really ask myself that, even on Netflix, I love movies. Like,
me too.
I'm not a gamer, but I love movies. I love, like, war movies and historical stuff, and like Knights of the Round Table stuff trips me out. I love it all. I love all that. I love series. But when I'm doing it obsessively, because I'm addictive personality anyway, to not do other things, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Like, if I can't go, I'm good, I'll go do the thing and, like, close my iPad. well, then I gotta, then I'm like, and I'll ratchet it down for a bit. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and it's just being willing to like check in on yourself at all those things. Cause I mean, I think like Satan literally wants to trip us up all the time. He's not going to come at you all the time. And he's not going to get in your head and every guy make these massive mistakes like I have. Like, it's not that. It's, hey, I don't have to give this guy just, it's like implode. But if I can get him 1 degree off with his time over here and he just barely goes off, well, then, a year down the road, like he and his wife haven't talked in forever. They haven't had sex in a month and a half. His kids don't even get time with him because not because he's doing anything wrong,
Mhm.
just because he's been unintentional with life and it's veered off. You know what I'm saying? So,
And distracted. I mean, I think the
yeah, just so
distractions are
distracted
and that's one of the things
and exhausted
oh,
and
dude.
unhealthy. Yeah, and unhealthy. Like, just like,
Yeah, no, your health and fitness sucks, your hormone opposition.
yes.
It was interesting you were talking about your endocrinal system and all that. One of the things that happened to me in 2025, which was new for me, I'm 53. I've been on TRT for a while. And what I have found is that I ended up getting this visceral fat that I had
Yeah.
never had before. And the only reason I can tell is because when I turn sideways, I'm wider than I ever was, but I don't have that much more external fat. And I was like, dude, what is causing this? And so essentially what I figured out, and I'm kind of taking steps to address all of this, is a combination between I'm doing TRT and I have stress. So my cortisol's up and my estrogen, my estradiol has gone up.
Right.
And so I cut back testosterone, estradiol, as you know, if you don't know, this is how it works, but they work hand in hand unless you do something to suppress estrogen, which you need anyway. Long story. We can talk about that later. But
yeah, whole other episode.
Yeah, whole other episode talking about hormone optimization. But as I cut that down, I can see that first of all, my cortisol level's down because like I stay high all the time. It's really funny because get off topic a little bit, but I wear these Aura rings, and I know
I have a Whoop band.
You're a big Whoop band guy, but my wife, it'll say restorative time and then stress time throughout the day. Like a big stress day for me is like 30 minutes. Like that's a major stress day for her. It's like 4.5 hours.
I know you're like, but you're used to handling stuff. Yeah,
because I just run, my childhood and all the crap I went through. Like my level of stress, my tolerance for stress is much higher. But what I don't recognize is the cortisol hormones are still, or the cortisol levels and all of those things that go around that stress response are still there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And if you don't take time to rest and you're not taking supplements to support those systems and you're not actively handling your stress levels, whether that's with breathing exercises or counseling or coaching or specifically, I mean, fitness is huge. If you're not working out as a man, you cannot regulate hormones. You can't regulate stress. You can't regulate sex drive. You can't regulate your mental state. You can't do anything. And so not being active, like, no matter who we're talking to, one of the first things I'm asking these guys, I'm like, when they're like, oh, this and that's that, and I'm like, what's your workout schedule a week? And if they're like, oh, I don't have time for that, I'm like, no, you don't have time not to do that.
Yeah.
Like you have to move and push stuff heavy. That's it. You're just built for that, right? Your hormones are. And if we don't, like that's where the cortisol goes up. And if cortisol goes up, your estrogen will go up with it because it's trying to protect you. Like it's a protective hormone, right?
Yeah.
It's a nurturing hormone. And so, it's just important to be able to slow down enough to pay attention. Now, not that there's not seasons of hustle where it's just, or there's tragedy. Like my dad having brain cancer. And then, we kind of worked him through several surgeries. They lived with us for a little while. And then we get through all of that. And then early last year, my mom gets diagnosed with breast cancer. And then she has surgery. It metastasizes to her bones. So now I've got both parents in stage 4 cancer that I live in 2 streets over. She starts radiation today. She was just texting me on a couple of things. And we're having to we get to help them walk through this process on top of stewarding 6 kids, running multiple businesses. And, oh yeah, hey, I'm married to you. We need to still connect. You know what I mean? Like, so there's plenty of things like that that'll come up and cause stress. So if one thing ratchets up, then you got to calm another down. Or again, your endocrine system, your hormones just can't handle it. And these guys are like, oh, I have awful reflux and I have ulcers and stomach issues. I'm like, yes, it's stress. It's you being freaking stressed out and not doing anything about it, and they're like, oh, well, that makes sense, you know?
Well,
So,
and it's
so
keeping your priorities, and it doesn't mean that during those times that you're down in the gym for 2.5 hours, right? Or you go to the
yeah.
gym for 2 hours and do your 30 minutes in the sauna and all that.
Yeah.
Dude, it could just be a matter of every time you finish a call throughout the day, do 20 push-ups, do 10 push-ups.
Yeah, 20 push-ups and 20 squats.
Yeah,
air squats.
Yeah,
like
just
easy stuff.
do that. Just keep your body moving. So I have this theory. I was thinking about this podcast. I was thinking about this morning. And I want to, because you are who you are, and I love you so much, I think you can walk through this with me. This will definitely become a short at some point. But I have this theory called the no ass theory for men. Okay. So
no ass.
All right. So guys, now it used to be guys like in their 60s, but now you're seeing it much, much earlier. But you see these guys, like you walk around and they look like they've got a droopy diaper because they literally have no ass. And so, and typically it's, middle-aged white guys, right? Like that typically, but
they drive a Corvette and they're like,
got their new
wear their jorts, wear their jean shorts,
jorts and New Balances. They got the Corvette starter kit. But like, it's amazing to me. So I'll go to like church or an event or whatever, and I'm looking around the room, and not that like I'm checking out guys' asses, but
all right, you hear this, guys? Kevin is looking at your ass.
I am judging you not because of your ass, but because you don't have one. Right. So
it is a telltale sign.
It is like if you,
the glutes and the hamstrings, like that whole system.
Number one, that strength of your glutes and hamstrings is the number one predictor for all-cause mortality.
Yes.
Which
means they're sitting all the time.
Yeah.
And they're sitting on their ass.
They don't do squats. They don't really, do anything like that. So I have this kind of theory about almost like productivity about you can make judgments, or you can make kind of associations.
Yeah.
If you like, okay, guys, if you're listening to this, feel free to just grab your butt. And if there's nothing there, or if you could feel your hip bones, you need to go. I
got some padonkadonk in mine. I'm good.
I do too, right? Like that's because I do squats a couple times a week. But that is something. So I don't know what I'm going to call this yet. But I have this theory
the ass check.
The ass check.
It's the ass check.
If you have no ass, that is going to actually tell me something about your business, your health and fitness, obviously, your life in general, and your marriage, because one of the things that Dan McLaren talks about, the bicep vein is your McLaren of the body, which is basically it's just an overall indication of where your priorities are.
Yeah.
And so
I mean, it's true.
I wanted to tell you that. I wasn't sure what you think about it.
But it is really true. I mean, I can look at my dad, and when his health tanked, my mom was joking about how his butt had disappeared. Jimmy, you got no butt. This is right before they find a giant brain tumor.
Oh, wow.
Well, your dad's, I mean, literally, like within, I remember my mom joking with him about a year before, but they just laughed like it was because he was just getting old. I'm like, well, that doesn't, I mean, are you going to lose some muscle mass as you get older? Sure. Right? Like when you're like, dad's like 77, 76. I'm like,
keep your hormones optimized and gain the gym and lift heavy
exactly.
stuff. That'll
help. He quit doing any fitness stuff. He quit working on the ranch. He had retired. He's sitting most of the time doing other stuff. Even when he's going around, he's riding a side by side, doing stuff around. And that was the thing, for him for sure. But like even in our office, when we were full-time practice, one of the things, and I saw a ton of elite athletes, I did a lot of major neurological condition work and stuff like that. But one of the things that we paid attention to, glutes were one thing that we did pay attention to. We also measured and we checked quad size and forearm size. And so forearm size, grip strength was a huge indicator of health. We also, without us even having them do exercises, if I could take a guy or an athlete or anybody and they had stuff going on and I'm working on them as a chiropractor, I'm working on their nutrition, I'm improving their health, I'm removing toxicity, I'm doing all this stuff. I could literally just go through and take a dynamometer and recheck their grip strength over the course of the stuff, and their grip strength would go up, even if I didn't have them doing grip workouts, because the strength of their muscles and their muscle balance was getting better. And so it's literally a marker of health. So like glute and balance, right? Like, so you can tell if someone is healthy or not because their legs are more even. Like the thing I've worked on ever since this injury and shattering this femur on my left is my right calf is probably twice the size of my left calf because I also had to have ankle surgery, all this stuff.
Do you have those?
Well, that's not healthy.
Do you have those dad calves?
Probably. Yeah, I bet I do. You know, I'm like looking at it right now.
Dude, I don't care how many squats. I'm genetically predispositioned to small legs and small calves. Like it just,
You know, I've got my
part of who I
quads
am.
are big, my calves are small. And I remember my best friend growing up, he had like freaking, gladiator calves. And I'm like, how do you get that? But I'm trying to balance stuff out and work
Yeah.
on it all the time because it's just showing that you're not getting the same information and triggering and stress in one area, which you need. Like you need the stress on the muscles. So yeah, no, I think the ass check is vital. Like I
Yeah.
think it's valid. And it's something for like men to go, you know what? If something is getting less like that, like my ass is getting small, or my quads are getting too small, or whatever the thing is, number one, even if it goes away, you can build it back. Doesn't matter. Like your muscles can build back. Like you just got to use them. Number two, the minute that stuff starts to change, someone says something, instead of blowing it off and being willfully blind to it, do something about it. Like get on it, But I think pridefully we're like, no, I'm not. I'm perfect. Look at me, and you're like, and then by the time you wait, then it causes issues, So
Yeah, if you
it's
have
good.
young children and
Now I
you're,
know you're checking me out every
there
time
you
I'm
go.
around.
I am.
I'm just gonna lie.
Yeah, you got one
I'm a
ass.
flex for you.
You got one ass cheek bigger than the other because you're out of balance.
Exactly.
But yeah, and like knee pain is related to glute hamstring
Yeah.
strength and quad hamstring imbalance and all of that stuff. So, dude, do your squats, even if they're air squats.
Yeah.
If you start out early, but to your point, it is a lot of guys will be like, well, this is just my body, right? Like I'm in my 40s, I'm in my 50s. This is just how it goes, because we've convinced a society that it's just natural to get old, get frail, get weak, all those. It's just not. There's ways to prevent.
Dude, there's some older guys in the gym that I work out in, and they are monsters. And I'm like there's this one guy, he's in his late 60s, and he could be maybe he is a bodybuilder. I don't know. I've never talked to him, but he could be a bodybuilder now. I mean, just like hoses for veins, chiseled everywhere. And he's in there every day. I mean, and I'm like, but it may take more work as you get older, but so what?
Well, and get your
it's just keeping yourself healthy.
Keep your testosterone
keep your hormones
where it needs to be. Get your hormones checked and optimized. Because there's dude, my grandmother was 103. Her mom died at 104. I'm going to live to 120. Like that's
yeah, you are.
That'd
be awesome.
But
you're gonna be the annoying old guy. I tell my kids all the time. I want to be the super old 100+ annoying old guy that people are just like, dude, this guy's never gonna die.
I saw this video the other day where the guy, the grandpa's like in his 80s. And he's like, all right, let's do some push-ups. That's totally gonna be me. And he like ripped out like 40 push-ups. And he's 80 years old. So I do these birthday push-ups every year. And so I did 53 this last December. And so I want to continue to be able to do my age and push-ups.
I gotta get more consistent with the basic things like that. I tend to get bored with basics.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, ooh, I'm doing this and that and these and all these other things instead of hey, and this is a big thing to the guys listening to this too, is pick 2 or 3 things that are foundational: squats, push-ups, some pulling motion, whether it's lat pull downs, pull up, something, and just do them all the time, right?
Yep.
And so that's key. That's good. I got to get back on that.
Nothing. What do they say? Nothing to it but to do it, kind of a thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
exactly.
Well, dude, I want to be respectful of your time. I'm super thrilled. We need to do this again. We could sit and talk for hours and hours, do a Joe Rogan level podcast.
Which we do when we get on. We normally do. Oh gosh, we got to go.
We just need to start recording everything we do. If someone wants to reach out to you, kind of learn more about you, see if they need coaching, see if you can help them in any way. How do they get in touch with you? How do they follow you? You have so much awesome content out there.
Sure. Website's drjimbob.com, and doctor's spelled out. And so they can go there, and it directs them to a lot of different places, from our membership website to coaching to public speaking opportunities, that kind of thing. But honestly, the best platform and the way for people to reach me is on Instagram. Yep. I don't know why that platform works for me, but I pump everything from Instagram out.
I'm just saying you're better 30 seconds at a time, if I'm honest.
I guess. All I got's a good 30 seconds in me, and that's about it. Ask Cindy, that's about all I got. That's what she said, exactly. And it's at Dr. Jim Bob, doctor spelled out again. And I even I answer every single message on there. I never have one that's left. I literally, when I hired my assistant a few years ago, had 480,000 unread emails.
Wow.
480,000. I was actually proud of it. I was like, dude, I'm going to hit 500,000. It's going to be amazing. And she's like, no, you're not. Not if I'm so now it's like down to like, I don't know, 10,000
Yeah,
or
you're more
5,000.
you're more inbox 10,000 than inbox 0, right? Like that's
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So on Instagram, it's the best way to find me and stuff. We put stuff on there, but yeah, I love it. I just love helping people. And I love my thing too is with your story. If there's no purpose to it, then there's no purpose, right? So it's like of the pain and stuff that we've walked out and the things that we have grown through and learned, if we can turn around and I can tell our story, that's why I wrote the book. That's why I'm online all the time. Like I really don't care how many members and followers I get on those things. But if I can have one husband get on there and go, you know what? That resonates with me and I'm not going to go down that path, or, hey, I'm going to choose to do this because of something he said, that's worth it for me. So it's huge.
Yeah. And I would encourage everybody listening, if you've listened this far, pick one thing from this episode and do it today. Like whatever.
Absolutely.
Do 5 push-ups. Who cares? Go slap your wife's ass. And if she hits you, just do it again.
Grab your own ass. Grab your ass. Grab her ass.
Grab your own ass.
Like,
Yeah,
just grab some asses and get to work.
Well, they call it grab ass. Like that's what my grandpa used to say. Quit playing grab ass and get back to work.
Quit playing grab ass and get to work. Exactly. My granddad did too.
Dude, this was awesome. Thank you so much for being on, and we will talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah. See ya.
If you're looking to really maximize your life and become the man you were made to be, head over to maxedoutman.com and get your journey started today.